This meeting of the Sedona Fire District Governing Board is called to order. Please join me at the Pledge of Allegiance. We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silence for our first responders, firefighters, and police officers who've passed since our last meeting.
Let's take a moment to remember the 5 firefighters and 9 police officers that passed.
Thank you.
Roll call. Helen McNeil, Chair.
Present.
Corey Cooperman, Clerk.
Present.
Diana Christensen, Member. Here. Scott Springett, Member.
Here.
Lance Waldrop, Member.
Here.
Chief, I believe we have the opportunity to welcome a new member of the team.
We do. I would like to introduce, for those that haven't met him, Danny Robinson to Sedona Fire. Born and raised in the Bay Area. Which side, Oakland or San Fran?
South of San Fran.
All right. And has lived in Arizona for the past 8 years. Started his career in construction and transitioning 4 years ago into the fire service as a fire inspector. And his past employers were the State Fire Marshal's Office and Casa Grande Fire Department. And he enjoys moonlit walks. He calls it hiking, surfing, and occasional rounds of golf. So we got another charity golf team member. And with that, we'd like to invite you up. And if you have anything to say, you don't have to. And if not, who's pinning you tonight?
Chuck Dowdy, he is about to retire.
All right, so we're going to talk some more. So he's a complement to our community risk reduction division, and you can fill some voids if you want.
Oh, okay. Do I have to stand up?
No.
Excited to be here. It's a beautiful area. I'm happy to try to keep our wildland urban interface safe, as well as the safety of our firefighters and the general public. Looking forward to learning new things from the department. Looking forward to mentorship under the leadership we have here. Learn as much as I can from the guys I'm working with.
Saved by the bell.
Cool. Well,
Just in time. Come on in.
Let's keep me from
What's that?
Thanks for coming up.
Thank you.
Danny?
Good to see you.
All right, and this is our badge pin, so here you go. Stab them with it.
As gently as possible.
Yeah. Well, or not.
I don't know. It's been good so far.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Hands are cold.
You're good.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You missed all the nice words we said about him, but you're more than welcome to not stay for the rest of the board meeting.
Unless you want to.
Welcome aboard.
Yes, Danny, welcome. We're
Yeah.
glad you're here.
Yeah.
Glad you bring your experience and looking forward to lots of good things while you're on the team. So welcome.
Thank you.
So I think our next step is a budget workshop, which may drive you out the door. Okay, Mr. Voldra.
All right. Well, Madam Chair, members of the board, it's come that time. We've spent many a months, staff time, DVG time, board time, working through all the wants, needs, and desires of the district for next year. From our last meeting, the only real updates that have changed since the last rendition is we pushed through the health insurance rates through the entire budget document, cleaned up some verbiage within some of the individual worksheets. And then there was a little cleanup on the capital where there's some duplicate items. that were in kind of this fiscal year's budget and also in next year's. And so it's really just kind of deleting some of the duplicates out of there. So what you have before you for tentative adoption today is the fiscal year 2027 budget at 27.76 million and a tax rate of $2.80. If approved tentatively today, it'll be posted for our 20 days. And then we'll come back next month, host the public hearing, and ask for final adoption.
So I open it to my fellow board members if you have any questions for Mr. Buldruff.
Gabe, you've shared this with us at our last meeting where we went over the budget page by page. But I think it's always good to say it again. What is the increase of this year's budget over last year's in terms of percent?
Yes, so in totality, we're going up $1.7 million year over year, which is about a 6.5% increase. Kind of as we've mentioned through the process, driving that, we have, a cost of living adjustment for all staff. We have a step increase for all eligible staff. One of the other big things is we're increasing our capital funding. We've held that number relatively flat for many years. And just with the cost of replacement continuing to increase, we did take that tax rate up to that $2.80 this year, which is actually about 2 cents less than we had projected, and took that additional $170,000 and funded that to our capital plan.
Yes, well, thank you. And I think we all know 6.5% is really quite an accomplishment, given the incredible inflation that's gone on with apparatus, with medical supplies, and especially those two categories.
Yes.
This is extremely well done, and health.
And I want to mention that on behalf of staff, I appreciate the board's willingness to evaluate this increase to capital and the continued support of capital. We've since our attempt at a bond, we've aggressively pursued putting money in the bank for now and into the future. And there are a lot of like-sized fire districts in this state that are evaluating bond initiatives this year because they are not in the position we are. And we are in the position we are in because of our financial decisions and the governing board supporting it. So we're in a good spot to continue to do the necessary improvements and replacements that we need to do without seeking other resources. So how many bond clients do you have potentially? I know one that's popping up.
Yes, for next year, we have of our client base, I actually think it's just one right
Just
now
one.
in Arizona. Yep.
But it-
Because they use you, right?
Exactly. That's sound financial management
Right,
practices.
yes. Other questions from board members? Okay, then I have one nitty-gritty question for you. I was looking at the health insurance
Yes.
and I thought I had heard that the increase was 13%.
I believe we're 18%, weren't we?
18, but it's
18%, but so when you see the 22%, that also has to do with people having benefit election changes. So if we've got somebody, and I found out actually talking to Kiona prior to the meeting, we seem to like to have babies at the district right now. So that's a function of also people last year, the prior year, that were maybe single or married with spouse, now move into family plans or, employee spouse, employee children. So that's why sometimes the increase won't always match up to the renewal.
Great.
And I'll double check that there were, unlike years past, there were some last minute meetings and changes, not out of our control. And I will firm that up, but that is the absolute top end of it, if it were to.
Good question.
Anything else? Okay, so the next thing that I want, before we move to approve the proposed budget, what I'd like to just confirm with the board is your comfort in having the public hearing date on June 16th, which is the date of our next board meeting. So we do it just as we did the fire code one last month, have the public hearing on the budget first and then move into our regular meeting. Does that work for everyone?
It does.
Yeah, still starting at 3 o'clock.
Still starting at 3
Very
o'clock.
good.
Okay.
I will not be at that meeting.
We will not be at that meeting. Okay. Okay. All right. Then we'll hold that as June 16th. And I would take a motion to approve the proposed Sedona Fire District fiscal year 2027 budget.
I move to approve the Sedona Fire District 2027 fiscal budget as presented.
Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. We have a budget proposed.
Thank you.
Thank you. And what I'd like to do is take a minute, just a moment here, and thank all of the staff and JVG for the work on this and for improving the budget document itself to make it clearer and more understandable and moving things to where they rightly belong. So I know it was a tough pull for everybody, but thank you for great work. Much appreciated. Okay. So with that, Chief, do we have any members of the public who wish to speak?
We do not.
All right. So the next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. It includes our regular meeting minutes from April 21st, 2026, and our special meeting minutes from the budget workshop, May 6th, 2026. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve both the consent agenda or the regular meeting minutes and the special meeting minutes as outlined.
Okay, and so I will second that. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. We've approved the consent agenda. So, Mr. Boulder, it's back to you for a financial report.
All right. Well, you guys have the April financial report in the packet. Starting off a couple things. Our total revenue for the month was right at 5.1 million. We were over what we had budgeted by 757,000. You'll see from the graph there, the predominant driver was property tax collection. We were over collected based on our historicals by about $750,000. Again, doesn't mean we're gonna see $750,000 more, but just from a timing perspective, we're doing a little better than we've done in years past. Non-levy revenue sitting there right at budget at 314,000, which is pretty much right in line with budget. So nothing really exciting going on there. On the expense side, we had a total of 2.6 million in expenses for April. We were over budget by 80,000. Couple things driving that. One, under personnel, we did have a little bit of overtime overage this month, which is driving that, as well as we essentially prepaid our insurance for the next month. And so it's kind of timing on the insurance, health insurance. And so those two factors kind of drove that number over for our budget to actual for the month of April. You can see buildings and land pretty much right in line with budget there. Vehicles and equipment was over by 92,000. Biggest thing driving that was timing on our PPE purchase. So turnout gear, that type of stuff. And so that's what's kind of thrown off the number for the month. When you get to year to date, you'll see we're actually under budget in that category.
Okay, if I could catch you before you go on. You mentioned some of the increased cost in total expenses. It's overtime, if I heard right.
Yes.
And I know last month you mentioned that as well, possibly the month before. Just want to again ask, how we're doing there in terms of managing overtime.
Well, I mean, what I would say from the budget perspective is, obviously overall from a budget perspective, we've got available funding within other areas of the budget to where we're not going to create any budget overage or any kind of financial implication there. I don't know if Chief wants to add anything as far as management of the overtime from a operational perspective.
As we discussed last month, it's that it's that fine line and that dance between, overtime and hiring. And so we're evaluating that right now. And some of the other drivers to the overtime last month is, we had multiple injuries. And, as stated, our SFD family is growing at a pace we've never seen before. And so those two combined, created a month, probably into this month of, some extra overtime needs. And thankfully, most of the injuries were short in duration and folks are coming back pretty quickly, but still, you miss 3 48-hour tours. That's still 3 48-hour tours. And we just had a run of injuries.
These are occupation related.
All of the above. Yeah. Well, most of them, yes, occupational in nature.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Communication IT was under budget by 12,500, and then both managerial, which includes travel and training, was under by 109. And one of the big drivers of that was timing on our liability insurance. So scheduled to be paid in April, but we didn't get that bill in. So as far as year to date goes, we're sitting at 25.3 million in total revenue through the month of April. We are over budget by 1.9 million in revenue, so that's a good variance to have. As I mentioned, property tax collection year to date's over by 817,000, so we're seeing much stronger collection than we've seen in years past. Non-levy revenue is sitting at 1.1 million over budget. Again, as we've kind of mentioned throughout the year, a couple things driving that. Our wildland program, ambulance revenue, and interest income are kind of the key drivers of that. And that is true additional revenue that we will see through the next 2 months and the year actually over budget in totality on those. On the expense side, kind of as I mentioned on the question before about overtime, we're sitting at 20.1 million in total expenses year to date, which is pretty much right at budget there, about $2,200 over or under budget. Personnel is over by about 460,000, but that is really being driven by that wildland deployment, those wildland deployments that we're getting that additional revenue to help cover and offset. As far as buildings and land, as we know, Scott's doing a great job of keeping our facilities in order and but again, we've addressed that in the budget. The fact that there has been a lot of deferred, we'll use the word deferred maintenance over the years. And so as that's kind of catching up, we've been spending in that category, realizing and taking advantage of some of the other savings we've had elsewhere. As I mentioned before, vehicles and equipment, communication, IT, as well as managerial costs are all under budget year to date. As far as breakdown, we've spent 84% of the budget with 16% remaining for the next 2 months of the fiscal year. And then breakdown on where the money's gone. Personnel, 86% of our total expenditures, followed by operations at 7%, communication at 4%, and managerial at 3%. And then finally, looking at our kind of cash position balance sheet year over year, ended the month with, easier to look here than up there each time, 24.2 million total cash on hand. It's an increase of about 2.1 million over last year at the same time. You can see our other assets also grew by about $3 million, mainly investment in capital assets, the biggest driver of that. And then our total liabilities also increased, but I do want to point out what's driving that increase is a lot of accounting accrual adjustments, not, for recording and leave liability, do some accounting rule changes, as of course our ever giving pension liability that grew as well this past year. So not like any true debt or anything like that the district took on. So with that, unless there's any other questions, that is the report for April.
Any questions? Okay. Okay, then I will entertain a motion to approve the April 2026 Sedona Fire District Monthly Financial Report. Do I have such a motion?
I will move to approve the April of 2026 financial report.
Second.
I heard a second from Scott. Okay, great. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. All approved. Gabe, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chief,
All right, staff reports. Chief Coyle is assigned to the 7 cabins fire in northern New Mexico. It started Sunday tragically when a medical fixed wing aircraft crashed, killing all 4 souls on board, subsequently causing what is now last update about a 16,000 acre fire. And so there's some complexities there with managing a fire like that, and you want to be sensitive to the human resource needs. And so he's off doing that. So I'm going to attempt to do his report. Significant events. I think Kirk's going to cover that. We had a few little things cook off. Yeah. And really just, and then Jordan will cover, these months are heavy training months, and that's really what our crews are focusing on, getting ready for the fire season. And, significant operational impact that also impacted all of you guys is with an Apple update. It dumped all of our apps, which we use to guide us to calls, and crews did a great job of being flexible and doing some workarounds. Fortunately, a lot of us have the same apps on our personal devices, which weren't impacted. So it didn't impact any operations at all, but it was just a good reminder that you don't know what you don't know, and an overnight update to a seemingly benign product line we use takes out the whole system. So it's just a good lesson learned. Staffing wise, I believe I sent it all staff. We had the other pending resignation is official, and firefighter Phil Bruglio will be leaving May 30th and heading to Missouri to be a farmer. So if you know anybody that's in the market for a beautiful 70s Lincoln town car, he's got a couple for sale. He's quite the collector. I see Lance right taking.
Unfortunately, those things are the size of the state of Kansas.
I know a couple of people who might.
Yeah, and so, you know what, he's been an asset to this organization, and we wish him the best. He's making decisions for his family, and I'm excited for him. Promotions, we brought Danny aboard, and we've got a couple temporary assignments, but no promotions. And our current firefighter recruitment, as of yesterday morning, we had 23 applicants and then 5 in the queue. We had our second RAM event last Saturday, and quite a good turnout. A lot of local young men and women, very interested, and it's adding value. And
Great.
And most of them had not applied yet. So to me, that was good news, because if we have 23 organically and then these people actively engaging with our organization that haven't applied, we might have a banner year with maybe 50 apps, which we haven't seen in, I don't know, 4 years. And so it's a good pool to draw from. And then administratively, a lot of the heavy lift's been on the budget and tuning up the budget process. And Christy's been meeting with county electeds and learning the ins and outs of that, which has been very thrilling for her. It's a neat process. We sat in on the Coconino County election intro, and it just reminded me how fortunate we are, because a lot of these smaller special taxing districts, you know, they have Mary, who is the secretary and the mechanic, and you know, does 4 other things, and they have a budget of $400,000, and the same 5 people have been on the board for 25 years, and all of a sudden one retires, and they have literally never done an election, and they don't have not a clue how to do it. And the county was really good about, and I learned a lot. But that being said, other things administratively, we're at 92% on our policy manual update and getting it prepped. Christy's working with Josh, managing our SharePoint final tweak. Business use case is the proper term. Yeah, I learned fancy words. And Elise has been mopping up. We had a new one this morning. Just decades of of cleanup. Is that, you want to expand on that?
I don't know if I should. Lots of documents from the 80s trying to put together a timeline for, say, the history of a well and water access and things like that. So it's every time we have to open up one of the old boxes, it just opens a can of worms.
But really, really just digitizing and organizing and right sizing all the stuff that bogs you down. And I'll park on this for a minute because I found it fascinating this morning. Our station 2, which isn't staffed, we store it. It's off the loop road. It's for storage. We're going to be utilizing it for the radio project for staging. And currently, that property has 3 different property owners, all some variation of Sedona Fire over the years. There's Sedona Fire District 1, there's the Sedona Fire District proper, and then there's Red Rock Fire District that own that property. And we went to, it has a little bathroom. We went to turn on the water, and it's a trickle. So if anybody's owned a home, you know that water comes in from the street and there's a shutoff valve and then there's a valve at the house. Well, there's no shutoff valve at Station 2. So through some box digging, we discovered that in 1972, there was a handshake deal, which was amended in 86 and again in 99, that our pipe goes somewhere to an adjacent property. And there's a shared well that has since been replaced. And so it's the devil's in the details moment that, I mean, the reason I park on this is the collective energy of our operations and support staff make this stuff happen. Because like I was joking this morning, none of this was in the Fire Chief 101 handbook, you know, on like how do you negotiate water rights deal with what now is the 5th turnover in that property ownership, and they absolutely have no clue what you're talking about when you tell them I get to take water from your well.
Chief, does that mean it wasn't in their title search?
Yeah, apparently, but we got documents. And again, that was the discovery this morning, and that was our little treasure hunt this morning. But and I use that example because that example is overlaid into so many other things that we're working to clean up around the district, and none of these things are one and done and I'll send an email and you fixed it. This one right here will probably take 50 staff hours to unwind. And so I just wanted to park on that for a minute because our across the board, we needed some language. We had a language request for some old labor documents from when we started our MOU, which is resolution 2003-5. And Christy did some magic woo-woo stuff and found it in some archive that's under a thing. And it's just without the knowledge and the KSA of the staff we have, we wouldn't be able to be moving these things forward. So while it may not be bullet pointable or bannerable for a report out, the behind the scenes unwinding that is happening is very time consuming, but very much needed. So I just want to express my appreciation. And then
Well,
other
if
than
I
that,
could interject, I think it's not just unwinding. I think what you're doing is solidifying the infrastructure for the future. So it's not just about the past.
no,
So I want to congratulate you and the team for doing that, because you don't know what you don't know, but the longer it goes, the bigger the bite it takes out of you when it bites you.
and
So,
even now we
thank
do know, we still don't know.
Yes, you will.
Like I was hoping we opened this valve and water sprung up out of the ground, so at least we knew where the pipe was coming from, but that didn't happen. So, but yeah, again, one example of just the day-to-day stuff, and everybody's just been cranking along, and I don't want to belabor it because I know Jordan and Kirk are going to get into some stuff.
Well, I have one other question.
Yes.
I know there's been a bunch of other fires around Arizona, around our area, down on Cave Creek and different. Do we have any firefighters who are, or equipment that's assigned to that?
Not yet. We've pulled back on having available resources because of we saw with some changes we made a couple of years ago to how we staff, we saw a remarkable decrease in what we call mandatory staffing, where we tell you, hey, you have to stay today. And I mean, the numbers got down to the
7 last year.
yes, and the year prior was 48. Yeah, so we had what we did worked. However, with this run of injuries, we had quite a few mandatories this month. So with that, if we can't staff the trucks to protect the community, we pull our availability regionally. And so far, all the local fires were handled with state DFFM and local agency resources. Like Wickenburg was a big one that was in the news. And then there's been a few remote ones, but the Prescott and the Coconino, even though we're entering into stage 1 restrictions, the Coconino's finishing up an 11,000 acre burn right at the top of the mountain here that they did. You probably saw the column. And then the Prescott National Forest is doing 2 prescription burns on Highway 169 this week. So it is terrain and weather dependent. And so while we're going into stage 1 and New Mexico and Southern Arizona is starting to pop fires, they're still doing regular prescribed burning up here. And so, and they're watching the conditions carefully, and Todd can pipe in, but typically New Mexico's that's our starter pistol. We're like, okay, once this region in New Mexico starts going, we're usually a few weeks behind lag time. Then we'll start seeing the activity pick up here.
Thank you.
Yeah. And well, just to wrap that, we don't pull availability, resource availability on a whim. Our battalion chiefs do a great job they'll get together, they'll look 2-3 weeks out. They'll look at, they know their crews, they'll look at vacation plans, they'll look at school graduations, they'll look at all the life stuff that's happening, and then look at our injuries and say, yeah, we're not going to pull it off this month. And so it's been good.
Little dip in the weather this week and the storm that kind of passed through yesterday with that passing semi-dry cold front. But the Prescott sends out a weekly or every week energy release component, weather, fire, heavy duty, like nerd stuff at wild landings. And we're flirting with the maximums that we've seen historically. So, and
it's coming.
So it will get busy. And like Ed said, it's a very delicate dance to make sure that we have enough personnel here to meet Sedona's needs as the priority.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Kirk.
Good afternoon. April was busy. I think May's going to be busier, but it's next month. So we did have one fire investigation last month, and I'll get to that in the next slide. Everything else has been pretty much the normal with residential and commercial inspections, and we're going to pick that up now that I have my inspector on board. And he's been gone in classes and getting some certification he's got to get. So now next week, he's going to hit the ground running. I'm cut the reins, you're gone, go out and do your thing. So
Kirk's a slave driver.
I'm a slave driver. Fire-wise, it's ramping up, especially when all the other fires are going on. People are now getting really involved. A lot of it's in the village of Oak Creek and Chapel area, majority of them. We did do 2 presentations, and I'll talk about one of them. One was out in Highland, and we talked to the HOA out there, and the other one was at La Springs. So I'll get to that. That's one of the slides that got popped up. I'll talk about it when I get there. So the Oak Creek Country Club, this one was an interesting fire that started in one of those hamper type cloth hampers that you throw your rags in and towels and all that good stuff. In a utility closet. 2 in the morning, I got called by the crews that were called out because the alarm went off for an activated sprinkler head. And you can see the mini split that was right above it. The whole bin burned up. It was going up into the mini split. The fire sprinkler put it out. And when I got there, the crews had already helped them, get the water off, start cleaning the water out and get it out of there. I can't say 100% sure because as an investigator, unless I'm 100% sure, it's undetermined. But talking to the chef and some of the crews there, they use rags to clean up their grills and stuff. And they probably had the grease and oils on those into the bin. The conditions were right, probably a spontaneous combustion.
I was going to say, I know you probably don't like using that term,
but it happens
but
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot more than you know. It really does happen.
When you say conditions are right, like what conditions does it make for cloths with oil to just spontaneously?
So usually what happens is people wipe up stuff and they wad up the rag, or the rag gets pressed in, you know, the oils are in there, then heat. Just warmness, the warmness outside, the warmness in the building. There was a hot water heater in that closet with that. And then as it warms up, it generates its own heat as it keeps generating until it ignites the organics.
Linseed oil is famous for that.
Linseed oil, most stains now, it's not even linseed oil, but stains, any kind of oils will do that.
It'll spontaneously combust without an ignition source.
Put it all in
Yes,
in a
I've
bucket
had-
of water and you're okay.
I've had sawdust
Mhm.
light off because they were sanding varnish off of a floor they didn't like. And they had it outside piled up on a piece of cardboard on the back deck. And about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they had a fire. It does happen.
They didn't read the label on there.
They don't think about that.
Oh, that's right.
We did do a celebration of spring at the city of Sedona. This was on April 4 at the Posse Grounds. Had a huge turnout, just like last year. You can't really see it in there, but they've got a zip line and bouncy houses, and they went all out. We had Freddie up there, Jeremy Vargas sitting behind me out there. He rode Freddie around, and all the kids love Freddie. If we don't have Freddie, they ask, "Where's Freddie?" So we try to make him a staple of these things.
I want to park on that for a minute. Jeremy is one of our firefighters, and he can't stop moving and he can't stop finding things to do. And Freddie was purchased circa 1992, probably.
Yeah, before
And
that.
I don't know if I've told the story, but bottom line, we were tossing them out. We were cleaning out a storeroom, and Jeremy says, "No, let me look at it." And the next morning, I came into work to get a coffee, and I got sprayed in the face because Freddie's got a sprayer. And the next morning, Freddie was fully operational. And Jeremy went through it and fixed the entire thing, including it had, at the time, it now has Bluetooth connectivity, but at the time it had a cassette player with a Hall & Oates tape in it. And
Drive it on over and over and over again.
you know, just a firefighter with a couple tools sitting in the apparatus bay till midnight. One saved us thousands of dollars in purchasing something else, and then provided a great pub ed toy, just out of self-motivating desire to fix something. And Freddie is an asset.
He is an asset. And we do have rules about squirting water, so it's friends and family. That's it.
Only the chief, right?
Mhm.
No board.
Yeah. Okay, rule number 3. I'll bring that up. We also did our 23rd year of wildland preparedness cleanup, and that was in the village of Oak Creek the first weekend, and West Sedona the next weekend following. So we had VOC. I had 4 dumpsters delivered, same as I did last year. We had to bring another one in on that following Monday because there was so much debris that the guys had to come back and pick it all up on Monday with a whole nother dumpster. So we hauled off 20. I write that up.
23 tons.
23 tons in the BOC and 3 tons, almost 4 tons in West Sedona. So West Sedona wasn't quite as good as, but last year wasn't either. I think part of it too is the city has their own cleanup program where you can clean up your yard with the street when it's your zone and they come pick it up. But the thing this year compared to last year is we got the word out so much better. So out of 105 people that showed up, 8 got it from Facebook, 12 from next door, 9 for HOAs that we went and talked to. The newspaper had 26, word of mouth was 24, and just others were 25. So that's a lot more than we ever got out before. And I'm sure next year we'll get bigger. I'm going to have 6 dumpsters in the VOC next year for this. So yeah, that went great. And I got to thank these guys. So Paul Chabot, Clyde Rubin, Kyler Tarver, Justin Wassel, those guys were there every weekend. That's 10-hour days, Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday. So working the equipment and making it happen. And also one more shout out, Longfellow Construction hauled our equipment from the VOC up to the West Sedona site. Glad to do it. Happy. Thank you. No charge. Alfred, they wouldn't take it. So.
And for the record, those 4 guys are wonderful, but we do compensate their time and they get to run fun equipment all day. So
Yeah, there is that.
But again, speaking to the quality of our folks, it wouldn't happen if we didn't have competent operators, and that's, operating a backhoe and a track hoe. Those are specialized pieces of equipment. Having the folks in-house that know how to work on that stuff is great.
So this event with La Springs, with their HOA, was a little unique this year because we had the city of Sedona and their wildland, their Firewise person that they've hired, and the not the director, not the building director, but the next one down, Steve Murtis was there. And they talked with their spiel about the insurance portion of things, which was good. And the whole HOA was there, pretty much about 20, 25 people, very perceptive. It went really well. They are well on their way to being a Firewise community accredited with the DFFM. So
Where is that HOA?
that is, where Rolling Hills is?
No.
Okay,
Some close.
Airport Road.
Yes.
Go past Airport Road and it's that first community to your right. It's Those Springs. They have a gate right there, gated right there. It goes right on the hill by the airport,
This side of, oh no, you're right. It's that side of the airport.
heading
Yeah.
towards Uptown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just a picture of kind of like what they do. So before you have a pampas grass right up the house, that's not a really good idea. That's what it should look like, if not gone. And the other one too, you can't even see the wall back there at the side of the houses. And they thinned that all out, limbed it up. So we're trying to get our presentation now, instead of just a flyer from Firewise, more,
So it looks like
here's what it looked like before, here's what we should look like now, and more of a real-time pictures. So it's not just a pamphlet. So that's our goal now, because we're gonna be doing a lot of it. Thursday, May 21st, we are going into stage 1 fire restrictions along with everybody. The Coconino, Yavapai, Prescott side, everybody's going. I will say that every Monday we have a fire restrictions meeting with the Forest Service, ranger districts. Everybody in Northern Arizona is on board. And this year, instead of everybody going, what are you doing? What are you doing? It was like a conservative, everybody consulted and we're doing it. So.
And that's critical for the biggest recipient of hate in this organization is Damie, or the front desk this time of year, with people demanding to know why we aren't doing more. And it's difficult here in Sedona because we cover, the national forest, we cover 2 counties, and then we have Yavapai County unincorporated in district, and then city of Sedona proper. So while members of the public may feel they're the best guiding force and when we should do fire restrictions, us aligning with the emergency managers and the counties and the forests is more important than a lot of people realize, because just that message. I mean, you could be a guy that works at Station 1 and pick up a shift at Station 3, and the rules are different in the past. Now the rules are all the same. So you have to have a flip book. And I was talking to some folks earlier, while we just went into Stage 1 restrictions, there's no map to when we go to Stage 2 or even more complete closures. It could happen in a week. It could be a month. It could not happen. So this is a very fluid process right here. And like Kirk said, regular meetings to make sure we're all in alignment.
And as far as that goes too, we've had, I believe it was last year, or the year before, we went Stage 1 and went Stage 2, and summer was so bad, actually it got better. We went back to Stage 1. Usually we got to Stage 2 and then we go back to, we're out of it altogether. But we got some rain, the monsoons were better, and everybody relaxed it back up again, so we went back. So that does happen. We can adjust as the year goes. So what is allowed? You can have propane devices as long as you can shut it off right away. If you can use charcoal on your own private property, not in the forest or anything else. But the trick with this is you've got and this is why the little blurb is at the bottom, is you got to know where you're at. You got to know what county you're in. Am I in the Coconino National Forest? What is their rules? Am I in Yavapai County? What is their rules? Am I in Sedona? What's my rules? And whoever's got the strictest rules is the rule that's going to take effect. We're pretty much all in line with all this. So that's on the website, that's on social media, that's out everywhere. Thank you to Damie for creating that cool website right there, or Facebook
Infographic.
post, the graphics on all that. So. And unless there's any questions for me, that's all I got.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I had to pull up my phone to remember the stats. Buzz is down in Phoenix doing EMS data. That sounds really exciting with the state. And he's recovering. Buzz with the Arizona Burn Foundation and a group of folks did a fundraiser this weekend, and most of the time it's a bake sale or a silent auction, but he decided to do the rim to rim in the Grand Canyon. And so, that was 20.4 miles, 5,000 feet of elevation change, and they completed it in 11 hours and 18 minutes.
That's great.
So, and raised, I haven't got the final tally on how much they raised, but it was substantial. Other than that, been working on a lot of the work Buzz did this month is just, we worked to true up capital, and I don't like the word guess, but try to best estimate where we're going to be over the next decade, and working with JBG on escalators and just trying to true up those numbers and evaluate, limit surprises, and still navigating the DEA. The feds have a narcotics drug control mandate that I believe 12 states right now have the capacity to comply. Arizona is not one of them, nor do we have any direction from the state on how to comply. And what that means for us is it could swing from doing things how we currently do it, where we have narcotics control through the hospital system, or to the opposite side of the spectrum, we may have to register and get our own DEA number, and we don't know what that's going to involve yet. And so been doing a lot of work to figure that out, because it's impactful, but there's a cost associated even before the rules land. We've got to get better securing devices for our drug boxes and things like that in the fire trucks. And so Buzz has been working a lot with our labor committees. One of our firefighters, Kyler Lee, kind of revamped how we carry our drugs. It used to be in a big case, and we've gone to a more modular system that's more efficient and easier to track narcotics in preparation for the rules that don't exist yet. And yes, it's frustrating. And really just dialing in with vendors. We're trying to get a lot of pricing. He's been doing a lot of work with vendors. And this time of year, they are out in full force like a mosquito swarm, because they know it's budget season. And then fleet, I'll touch on this with POs over 10,000, but the first out engine here at Station 1 is a 2014, and it's up in Flagstaff right now getting a complete engine rebuild. And it was not a planned expense, but it's the cost of doing business. So
I didn't hear what the
full engine tear down and rebuild. And so just navigating fleet needs with Mike, and getting final prep to get the ambulance up to Washington for its remount, and it's now been pushed to July. And so we'll get some staffers to take that up there, take a little road trip. If you want to do part of the leg of the journey on your way to 18, drive an ambulance.
Chief,
But-
did you say that was a 2014 vehicle?
Correct.
Wow.
It's an old
And we're
truck.
still rebuilding it?
Well, unfortunately, we are rebuilding it. No, that's a very new truck for us. So that's one of the ones that's proposed to be replaced in the board action communication tonight. But with the lead times, we like to bring our type 1 engines to a 15-year mark before replacement is ideal. And that'll put that engine at 15 years. But the current engine that they're on is 23 years old, and it's our reserve engine. And so, but it's Energizer Bunny. That truck keeps going.
The repower, is that a Pierce unit or an E1?
It's a Pierce unit. Yeah, and we haven't got final diagnostics, but it looks like they're gonna have to sleeve it. And
So is it actually an in-frame repower, or they actually pulled the?
it should be an in-frame. is the goal.
You're probably looking at what, about 35 to 40?
Oh, 32. Yeah, it is a nice surprise. And then with that, just, yeah, that's the bulk of, just a lot of time spent this month with all division heads working on budget stuff to really retool a lot of things. And so that's it for that. If there aren't any questions, I'll pass it over to Jordan.
Hi, Jordan.
Good afternoon. All right, so we finished this last month, we finished the 6-month reviews for 2 of our probationary firefighters. They both did great, and actually I'll highlight one of them because it's the first one that's done this since I've taken over this job. 100% on the written exam, which is a 100-question test. So did fantastic. He scored 100% on the written and 100% on his practical evaluation. So I think I need to maybe make the test a little harder now. There's an underground probationary firefighter network where they're sharing information, which is great. But no, I was really proud of them both. They did an excellent job. So we'll get them geared up for their 12th month. And that'll be it until we hire again. So I'm excited to get them kind of off and moving. The engineer position passbook we've been working on is kind of in the final stages. So I've got that out to a few individuals for review right now, making some last minute changes, and we anticipate that being released July 1st. So that'll be new firefighter task book, engineer task book, captain task book, and battalion chief task book in the last 3 years that have been revamped. And some of them were upwards of 10 years old with some outdated information. So it was time, and hopefully with standing committees, we'll not have to wait 10 years to revamp them again. We'll do it every 6 months and meet and change stuff as needed. So exciting to get that out. This spring with the blue card training, we're going to concentrate on May Day training. The first phase of that one already went out. It was a company officer led instruction with their crews. They'd have that completed by May 15th, and then we'll move into the classroom portion where the blue card instructors will go around. We'll run some real time scenarios on the computer. And then finally, the third phase, with Scott Schweezo's help, we were able to secure the old bank where the new Station 4 is going to be going up. And he worked on the core, keeping power there for us so we can power up our smoke machine and anything else. They have some porta-johns out there and have it fenced off. So we're going to try to incorporate some hands-on training in that acquired structure, which we don't get to do very often. So we'll be trying to roll that out in June, early in the mornings.
And we'll get the schedule out if anybody has some anger management issues they want to work through. And we'll hand you a hard hat and a sledgehammer.
Yeah, very good. Stay away from the vault. Stay away from the vault. So yeah, we're looking at doing that, getting hands-on training in May sometime, and get the crews out there and work on some hands-on May Day training. New hire water tender training. So a couple years ago, we implemented a new program where after 6 months, our new hires would go through a formal water tender training, because that's one of the pieces of apparatus that's most frequently involved in accidents throughout the country. So we implemented that a couple years ago. So 2 individuals just went through their water tender training, and now they're certified to take water tenders in district and out of district during emergency response. So and kudos to our driver trainer instructors that brought that up 2 years ago as a concern, made a proposal for the program and training, and they've been off and running, doing a great job with it.
And I just want to touch on the reason they're so dangerous is that the water tender is the only apparatus we have that has 3 dynamic driving modes. And the vehicle handles entirely differently if it's full, half full, or empty. And you're talking thousands of pounds of weight difference. And so like Jordan alluded to, if you look at firefighter fatalities, a majority of the vehicle accidents that are fatal and across the country are water trucks. And typically outside of district, we'll get a request for a water tender to Cornville or Rimrock to assist. And typically it's somebody with much less time on the job than others. And so we've got a newer employee driving a dynamically unstable vehicle out of district. And so I think this training is critical.
And not only newer employees, but if you can imagine when you were 20, 21, 22 years old, a lot of folks don't have experience driving heavy equipment or bigger vehicles. So we have people that, one of our probies years ago, I asked him when I was still a captain, what was the biggest piece of apparatus or vehicle you've ever driven, and he pointed to his Honda Civic in the parking lot. So unrealistic for us to think we could just throw him in a water tender and have him respond to Rimrock or Camp Verde without an inherent risk. So we've
With
addressed that.
22-year-old adrenaline
Yeah.
and going to their first fire.
That's very good to hear because within the world of CDL, tanker is its own sub-endorsement.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely, it doesn't matter if it's baffled or not. They are extraordinarily persnickety, especially at the half and lower level. So
Yeah, and so not only did that training go over operating the pump and everything, to get them on the road out on 179 on highway speeds in Jackson Canyon, Verde Valley School Road, and navigating the roundabouts in the village of Oak Creek too. So
excellent.
you guys are doing a great job. Chief Missoula's talked about it. So our second RAM event, the recruit and mentorship event that we started, the program was this past Saturday. We had 19 individuals there. Of the 19, only 3 were from the first event. So 16 new individuals that were at this event. We had 16 individuals last time. So of this 19, we actually asked them at the beginning how many were anticipating testing and putting in applications that haven't yet, and there was 12 of them. So Chief Missoula spoke to those numbers about how many apps we have in and pending. Hopefully all 12 of those follow through, and we'll have 12 more, and we'll be in the upper 30s already, which is a step up, I think, already from the past 2 years. Yeah. And we still have some time. So been really trying to ramp it up on social media. I would like to give a shout out to the individuals that are running this program. So Jordan Alessi is one of our firefighters here at Station 1. Kind of came to me with an idea. Like I said, I've been wanting to do this for a couple of years. I just needed some horsepower to help me get it done. And he took it on, and he's done a great job. He's been out recruiting a lot of folks on the floor to help him with that. Kyler Lee, Kevin Ehlers, and Sean Williams all volunteered to help out this Saturday too. Some of them were on shift, some were off shift, but they did a fantastic job. I wasn't able to make the first event. I was out of state. I was here this Saturday. I couldn't have been more proud of our organization on Saturday and what these individuals brought to the table. Went through some physical training with the attendees, and then sat them down, talked about the application period, how to get the app in, the culture here at Sedona Fire, and then actually broke them out into groups and went over oral board simulated questions and provided feedback. Printed up a feedback sheet for them that the individuals could take with them to practice, and then asked them to bring them to the next RAM event to work on improvements. So like I said, I couldn't have been more proud of these individuals. They're doing a great job with it. They just asked me today, they're like, hey, do you think we can squeeze one more in before the applications are due? I said, you guys got time, we'll make it work. So they're actually working on trying to do one more event before the application period closes down. And we'd only anticipated on doing one. So super proud of these guys. They're doing a great job. The whole recruit team. There's a number of individuals on it now. It is doing an excellent job. So I think we all should be proud of them. They're representing the district very well.
Jordan, I'm curious about one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know Cascade is involved with it. How many, are we getting any women applicants?
I don't know as far as applications. I checked with Keona this morning and got the same numbers Chief Missoula did. I know there was 1 or 2 female cadets that were at Saturday's event. I'm not sure about the past one because I wasn't here. But I imagine we will, because I've also been scheduling numerous ride-alongs. When you talk to the crews, it seems like there's riders every day. And we've had a number of them, and many of those are female firefighters that are looking at testing as well. So we did have an individual from Illinois here on Saturday that's looking at testing. We had Mojave Valley, we had Tucson, we had Phoenix, and they traveled up just for this event. So that was pretty neat to see. I was excited. Can I answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you very much.
All right, kind of moving into some wellness stuff. Solve Global still coming the second Tuesdays of the month at Station 4 with great feedback. It's the physical therapists, the PT techs that come in and work with individuals. There was 3 individuals I saw went through it last Tuesday when they were here, and all great feedback. We're still trying to up the wellness program and the initiatives to decrease injuries, and maybe we need to reevaluate, because I've been seeing all the injuries coming across too, and some of them are just unavoidable. But we're going to continue pressing forward and trying to decrease those on the job injuries, because I know it bleeds over to workers' comp rates and everything else. But Kevin Ehlers, that helped out with the RAM event, kind of took the lead on that wellness program, and he's been off and running. They got their new quarterly or monthly newsletter out now, and workout challenges for crews. So we're ramping that up as well. Just real quick, last, and this kind of highlight CRR. The Verde Valley Fair was last month, right? This month, end of last month, beginning of this month, down in Cottonwood. I had the opportunity to go over to the Laughs trailer where John Westbrook was there and the new fire inspector Danny was there, along with somebody from Copper Canyon. But I just wanted to let you know, and they probably don't. I mean, I know those two don't know Danny real great. But they're not gonna pat themselves on the back and, you know, tell you how great they did. I was super impressed with how well they represented Sedona Fire there. And we're talking a few hundred people went through in the 5 or 6 hours I got to stand there with them. Literally a few hundred people, classrooms of kids came over, and I could have been more impressed with, again, how they represented Sedona Fire and the work they do. As far as educating and interfacing with those kids, it brought a smile on my face watching. It was really cool to see the work that they do. And I've seen it a few times, but John and Danny did an excellent job. And it was, appreciate them allowing me to go there and hand out recruit cards for Sedona Fire at the same time. So it was pretty neat. And they had a stack of them there and they were handing them out. But the way they interfaced with the kids and the public was fantastic. So, you know, I know Kirk's proud of them, and we all should be proud of them as well, because they represent the organization to the best we could expect for sure. So just wanted to say that, and that's all I've got.
Good, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Chief Mizoulas.
All right, I am not gonna belabor finances. We covered it in a couple, but we keep that in there for the non-budget season board meetings. Capital project updates. My goodness, having a Canadian wife, I feel ashamed that I did not know Monday was a Canadian holiday. Why? Yeah, why is that relevant? Because our first batch of radio rack shipped this week, but a day delayed because of the Canadian holiday, because they're from Canada. So Scott's worked with the plumber and bug busters and the IT division, and we've cleared out some room at Station 2 off the Loop Road, and we're gonna pre-position some of the radio stuff there. And so they have to unbox it and they have to do some initial programming and startup stuff with that. So
The snowcat is gone, right?
the Snowcat's gone.
What usually lives there.
Yeah, it's in Snowcat heaven. Yeah, it needed to go. So as it relates to the radio infrastructure, it's coming. It's the racks are being constructed and they're shipping. So that's progress. We're still waiting on some FCC frequency mods and approvals, and there might be a slight delay. Weeks, it could be weeks with our planned install dates because of some of the Fed shutdowns and things like that. But it's not alarming to me because this is a massive project, and for it to go perfectly smooth, I'd have to be kidding myself. In addition to that, and one of the BAC reflects that we're continuing, the other piece to this radio project is a lot of the infrastructure upgrades. And to update you on past approvals, we have one generator left to complete the project, and that'll be installed into this month at Station 4. And then all the air conditioners are complete, and then the code concerns at the different remote sites have been repaired, electrical wiring concerns and things like that weren't up to speed. So the radio project is continuing to move forward. Station 5, tomorrow we have a walk and talk with the U.S. Forest Service. We requested an evaluation of their rock quarry, as I've stated before, and the forest went above and beyond and identified a couple other sites they think might be to our advantage. And so we're gonna hit the canyon and tour some of those sites. And that's forward progress. And I'll just reiterate, if we can decide on a suitable location, we would then engage in different levels of processes that get up to the DC level. But ultimately, we've got really solid local support, and a lot of the studies and required things that need to get done seem like they'll be pretty seamless if we can get an approved site going. So more to come. Tomorrow is the big day for that. And we'll have some formal conversations. Station 4, as you know, the asbestos mitigation's done. We mitigated some issues from local residents with the site. There was the one woman concerned about some dead trees, and Todd had his crew go over and mow them down. And we just received 60% drawings, and that is where you really get down to the nitty gritty of the ventilation, ductwork, and the wiring and the plumbing. And June 2nd, we have, it looks like a 6-hour meeting. We're going to page by page the 171-page document. And then from there, I anticipate, hoping for June, probably July, we'll get a GMP presentation from Core and LEA on what guaranteed maximum price is going to be. I'm okay with that because, you know, if things, the geopolitical climate settles down a little bit, and, you know, everything that builds fire station runs on diesel. So I'd like to see that price come down so we don't have those contingent reserves in all our quotes for construction, and maybe recognize some savings. But so we're, as per the timeline for November of 27, we're completely on track right now. And once GMP is received and accepted by the board, then probably late July, early August, we'll start proper demo of the bank building. And I would anticipate, with lot prep and everything, probably October would be the golden shovel is where it's looking. I think that's probably pretty close. Yeah. And then
GMP now is 60%. They're gonna still come back to that 90%. Really
yeah,
fine tuned. And the process is interesting. They actually have all their subcontractors bid the job. So they bid it at 30%. They bid it again at 60 and 10. They say typically the numbers tend to get better, a little tighter as they go. Not always, of course, but I'm hoping that's the way that our project goes as well. So
yeah. And I just lost my train of thought. No, it's not your fault. So bottom line is we're on track, which is the most critical piece for me. And it's going well. Like I said, we've had really good community feedback. And so those are our big major capital projects, other than a couple things we're presenting tonight. And things are moving. When LEA comes out to do the 60%, we're also going to look at the annex and some other projects, just kind of get an idea of what's what and where we're at. And so getting everything lined up for next year, and we're in a good spot. Scott's going to be busy next year. And that's really for that. Purchases over 10,000. We had an air conditioner here at Station 1 that needed 6,000 in repairs, and it's about 30,000 to replace it. So we capitalized that asset, and it's 10 to 12 year unit. So I got that replaced out of this year's budget. It was planned for next year. We purchased a pickup truck for facilities use, and then the other one was the unexpected engine expense for the repair of that motor. And those are the major over 10,000. Legislative update. The governor is locked up with the legislature right now, and she doesn't want to open up any bills to proceed through the process until she has a balanced budget. They have yet to provide one. What have you heard? Maybe this week they're talking about opening back up. Gabe, have you heard anything?
No.
Yeah, they're arguing.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the bills we're still concerned about are just lingering. They did push through, she's allowing a few bills through. They did push through the renewal of the Craig Tiger Act, which provides for funding for mental health support for firefighters and police officers. So that was a good thing. There's a couple others we'd like to see pushed through. The comma bill is still kind of lingering. That's related to workers' compensation cancer, and it's pretty sure it's going to get approved, but everything's locked up right now. A legislative good news piece is the AFG grant period opened up. And we've already, Elise and Scott worked with a manufacturer to already have a draft grant prepared. And it will submit to AFG, and if approved, we could recognize close to 300,000 in savings for replacing our exhaust ventilation and our stations for the diesel exhaust, so that we have capitalized. So, and it's a pretty neat deal. It's the same manufacturer we currently have for our exhaust system. They surprisingly have somebody that's really good at grants for AFG that helps us navigate the process. So we're hoping for the best. That's a PC way to put it? Yeah. Yeah.
That also includes the new Station 4 if we get that grant.
Yeah, if we get it, it'll reduce costs for Station 4 construction. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, at the Fed level, the grants are opening up. We have another grant we're approved for as a collaborative effort between the fire districts for mental health. And we got to figure out if we're going to be able to recognize that grant, because while it was approved and funded, nobody's been in the office to answer the phone to distribute the monies. So because they were on the shutdown. So this isn't a Sedona fire issue. This is the collective of the grant recipients. We don't know if what's gonna happen. So Keona's working on that.
On the AFG,
Yes.
what's the ask?
It was a 265.
300, and our percentage is 5%. Based on our population, it looks like that we'll have to come up with.
Yeah. It's a bargain if it goes through.
Mhm.
Reason I conflicted the numbers, because I know we had it broken out, new Station 4, old stations, and then I was trying to add it up in my head. But yeah, it's around 300. It's substantial. It's remarkable. But that's really the bulk of my report out, if there aren't any questions.
Any other questions for the chief? No. Well, thank you. Great report. Okay. So now, you want to take us through the discussion on the approval of expenditure of funds for the direct current power system replacement and upgrade in the amount not to exceed 300,000?
Yes, item A, I will attempt to translate to common speak. So all of our radio sites have redundant power supply. The first leg of power supply to our remote sites is APS power, obviously line power. And then we have a backup generator that's fueled by propane or gas. And then that's the AC power supply. And then if those fail, then there's a DC power supply, and that's basically a bank of batteries. And those are battery banks. This has been a recognized capital need that's been pushed year over year for 3 years. There's been a line item for 500,000 in the budget, and we're now at a point where we can purchase those batteries. In addition to that, there's some rectifiers and then the inverters that convert DC to AC. And we have all the costs calibrated and calculated for the material costs. And the reason why this board action communication identifies a not to exceed of 300 is because we don't yet have the installation costs, and those will vary after site visits and things like that. But we wanted to recognize this identified capital purchase from this year's budget and get the material coming because of the lead time. And as described, this is a not to exceed 300. We have a capital budget of 500, and there will be the potential for another ask to finish out that 500 or not, to be determined for some other equipment. But this will get specifically the rectifiers, the battery clusters, and the inverters on order and get them heading our way. And then that will close out the redundant power supply for the equipment we're starting to get delivered that will be installed in the fall. So this is the last site infrastructure upgrade piece that we're looking at. That's a major purchase item.
And Chief, this equipment is expected to come before the fall?
Oh, I believe it was a 3-week lead time, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
on a lot of it. The rectifiers have, I'm not gonna pretend to understand it. The rectifiers need to be programmed to the specific channel and there's a whole, it's really, sounds really hard. But the batteries, I think most of our battery sets have exceeded their life expectancy by about 5 or 6 years. And so
Is that like lead acid or the NiCad or lithium or?
These are AGM lead acid. And this is the negative 48-volt system. I don't know what that means. The new Zetron stuff runs on a,
It's kind of the way it's grounded.
Yeah.
And so it's highly technical, this piece. There are some 12-volt batteries that'll be coming as well that help bridge the gap on the AC stuff as well that goes to DC.
I presume this is going to include the intelligent, basically the management center that's going to, manage inverter conversion and all that stuff.
the UPS inverter system and it should have some remote componentry to it so that right now, if there's any red flags with our system, it's a physical drive to a remote site to open the door and physically look. And
That was my next question.
yeah, we're doing a lot of remote monitoring upgrades to stuff.
All right.
Other questions? Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the expenditure of funds for the direct current power system replacement and upgrade in the amount not to exceed 300,000?
So moved.
I will second it. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Got your approval for that. Let's move on to the discussion of the expenditure of funds for the purchase of 2 Pierce PUC Enforcer engines in an amount not to exceed $2,245,482.
2,200,000, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So again, these are recognized capital expenses. One is budgeted for this year, the other one is budgeted for next year. Buzz did a hasty meet with our RBO committee, our relationship by objective committee with labor to evaluate the specifications and landed on speccing out these engines like the last 2 we purchased. So then we'll have a fleet of 4 like apparatus across the board with any manufacturer recommended upgrades that they do, a new door handle or things like that when they find a better product. But ultimately, Buzz spent a lot of time negotiating with the manufacturer's rep, Hughes Fire Equipment in Phoenix. Historically, they wanted, as you may remember, to pay up front and for your apparatus, whether it's the International Association of Firefighters pressure or the class action lawsuit from LA. The manufacturers have shifted how they receive payment. And so what this means in simple terms is based on our recognized capital needs assessment for fleet replacement, with this purchase, we will get 1 engine later than we anticipated because of build times, and we'll get 1 on time. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to spend the budgeted capital allocated for this year. And then we can make some choices. We either pay the balance, which is already budgeted in the capital for next year, or we could spread it out over 2 years. And that gives us a little bit of wiggle room if next year Station 5 is like, got to do some stuff now, it frees up some opportunities. But ultimately, it also locks in today's price for 2 fire trucks we'll get in 29.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good.
So, and a wild guess, I would imagine, we got the current pricing, but I would imagine if we order next year based on year-over-year increases, it would be another $400,000 if we wait. I don't know. Does that seem pretty accurate the way they've been going?
Yeah, I mean, it's been varying, but I mean, it's
not going to go down.
Right. I mean, exactly.
So Chief, in terms of when we actually deliver this money, it looked like we're getting some credit for delivering it when it's completely put together there at whatever facility it's being made at. That's as best as I could understand.
And
from reading it.
my recommendation, I'll defer to Gabe, is that we spend what we capitalize this year and get it to them, and
Get
then
it to them,
the
I
remaining
see.
balance over the next year or 2. But yeah, prior to completion, the language in the contract states, I believe it's 90 days before completion.
So we'll be giving them the money soon, are you saying?
I think it would be prudent to pay a portion of the amount, what we have budgeted in capital for this year, but if there's a better way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, assuming, you know, obviously they, you know, give some, just drew a blank here, performance, you know, performance bonds in place and things of that nature, you know, to lock in the pricing and, you know, realize some of the discounts.
And if we pay what's capitalized this year and then sit on the other half for a year, it collected interest on it, that's a benefit. Excuse me.
Other questions?
Glad to see that we're taking advantage of economies of scale.
Yeah.
Of course, I think maybe you probably read my mind knowing that would make me very pleased, but
yeah,
because it's not just that, it's training, it's supplies, it's legit, everything merges into longer term savings.
And what it does, and so 2029, this apparatus that's getting rebuilt right now will be 15 years old, and all things go right, it's got a fairly fresh rebuild, so it'll be a really solid newer reserve engine. And then the one that will be replaced in the village is an 18, so it'll be at about 12 years old when we get delivery, and which is a few years short of our planned replacement. But to have a reserve fleet that's not 24 years old is very advantageous for us.
Right.
And for example, the current engine these guys are on here, it doesn't have the modern braking systems that our newer engines have. It doesn't have the airbag systems like our newer engines have. They're just safer apparatus. The clean cab concept where we remove the gear from the cab and then the air packs. And so there's also this current engine doesn't have the current cancer mitigating strategies that we have now, but she's a good old reserve engine. Keeps going.
Thanks, Chief.
Other questions for the chief? Okay, then I will move that we approve the expenditure of funds for the purchase of 2 Pierce PUC Enforcer engines in an amount not to exceed $2,245,482. Do I have a seconder?
So moved.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. We are buying 2 more engines. Okay.
And the irony of this that wasn't lost on Buzz is he was nervous, and I said, "What's going on? You've done your due diligence." He's like, "I've just never pushed for a purchase that I won't be here to recognize."
Tell him we'll invite him back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right along.
Okay. Okay. So board member updates and ideas for future meetings. I'm just going to lead with a couple of things and invite my colleagues to join me. I asked Elise, so I'm the culprit that asked Elise and Christie to resend out the bill pay calendar, just sort of mid-year, so that we'd all have a refresher on when we're paying bills. The one thing I would ask is that if you're doing a swap, you let Elise know so she can remind on the morning of the right person. And I'll tell her, don't worry. Diana and I are doing a swap. So if you're doing a swap and not, just let Elise know. And that's on the bill pay calendar. The other thing that I would like to bring up is because last year I did a Christmas note to all staff from the board, I managed to get myself onto the all staff distribution. And I find it very informative, it lets me keep up with what's going on in the organization. Some of it's relevant, some of it's not. What isn't, I delete. But my instinct was to automatically invite my other colleagues on the board to join that distribution list. And then it occurred to me, maybe not everyone would like to hear about open enrollment and other things. So I'd like to hear from my fellow board members about whether you would like to be on the all staff distribution. I'll start with you, Lance.
Yes, and by the way, my bill pay is actually magnetized to my toolbox, so I have to see it constantly. As
Okay.
far as the distro, absolutely. I would love to be a part of it.
Okay.
And for the board's information, all staffs are fairly infrequent. So it's not like, oh no, I signed up for that new Flower of the Month club.
No, it's not.
Yeah, they're organizationally significant events, you know, like she mentioned, open enrollment, resignations, things like that.
Diana? Sure. Okay. Corey?
Yes, you just sold it. Gee.
Scott?
I'm in.
Okay. All right. Great.
Thank you.
Any other board member updates or ideas for future meetings?
Well, I might mention that former board chair and member David Soto and I every year do Run for the Wall, which is in any case, he, the rest of the central route group are having to contend with some very severe weather on their pathway to the east. So let's keep him in our thoughts. He has an iron bottom. I don't, which is why I only do a part of the leg, but he does the whole thing across the country. And this year, we're actually doing an additional part to a memorial in Versailles, Illinois. So let's.
So just for the clarification, for those of us who are not motorcycle, I'm assuming that Dave Soto does not have an iron bottom. Yeah.
Existentially speaking, in the community, he has the constitution to do these really, really long rides.
Okay.
But you know, it's a very solemn event. It you know, every leg has a very emotional component to it. Of course, his son's in the active duty Air Force, you know, and you know, I consider all first responders, whether, you know, you're sworn across the board as being, you know, the type that kind of have a portion of their heart that's given away. So let's keep it as like, in fact, I came back from New Mexico and they were leaving out and they endured a pop-up hailstorm. So anyway, that's all.
And here I thought you were referring to his bike, not to him. Okay. All right.
Well, yes to all.
On that note, okay, this meeting of the Sedona Fire District Governing Board is adjourned.